So today I'm going to be teaching the 37 practices of the Bodhisattvas. So first I'd like to say welcome and good morning to everyone. And so first, here in this this time when we are both I explaining and you hearing the teachings of Dharma, the most important thing is that our practice of explaining and listening to the teachings is that that practice be sealed with what is called the three excellences. And those three excellences are spoken by the great omniscient one Longchenpa, where he says, first to have that application of bodhicitta, and in the middle that non-observing state, and in the end to have it sealed with dedication creates a authentic virtue. So in the beginning we should join into the practice by generating that mind of bodhicitta, and in the middle we should have that non-conceptual or non-distracted state of listening to the teachings, and in the end that practice should be sealed with our dedication. And if any virtue is held by these three excellences, then that becomes a virtue of the Mahayana. And so here, before we begin this teaching, then we should all generate that proper motivation of bodhicitta and then engage in this practice of hearing and discussing these teachings. So generally we can discuss virtue in terms of virtues of body, speech, and mind, but what we call the virtues of the Mahayana are primarily discussed by way of a mental state. So it's And so it's said that virtue and non-virtue follow after whether our intention is virtuous and non-virtuous, not after the reflection or the appearance of virtue or non-virtue. And the meaning of that statement is that with a virtuous motivation, if we engage in virtuous deeds, then they do become authentic virtues. But if we engage in something that seems to be a virtue of body, speech, and mind, but engage in that with a non-virtuous attitude, that does not become virtuous. That is a non-virtue. So the point is then that virtue and non-virtue rely upon the attitude or motivation with which one engages in that action and not in the outer form of the action. Listen.
그놈 산촌조도 sem지네 다들은 나서 된치니세데 제세라는 순주 속된시다 되니 말에.
And so we should generate that proper motivation of bodhicitta to engage in this discussion of and listening to or hearing of the teachings of these 37 Bodhisattva practices.
The Jesse Lalin said that Jesse is in a Sanju Samba on the show. Then Lalin in a Sanju Samba Namjiani, Jinyani, Katambat Solani, Lalin said in the show. That the Jesse Sanju Samba Namjiani, the Nyani Katamba Mamboji, but the so. And the Sholoka Sunju Sodengan on the Torn Dush, some shop in Mayinde, then it just a lalin Sodema television.
And so, the literal translation of the title of this book is the 37 Practices of the Children of the Victors. And so the word Gyelse in the Tibetan, which is children of the victors or sons of the victors, is referring to bodhisattvas. So in English we often translate it as 37 Practices of the Bodhisattvas. So there are many practices which are engaged in by bodhisattvas, but here those are all condensed into 37 practices and 37 verses for this text, which is why it's called the 37 Practices of the Bodhisattvas.
One the Seba in Bayina, that just a lalin dignana, and Manduba Meba, what a tiny child by it, the need my niche, just a lalin say a day, and it's a don Sabata Jacheva, the name is Tindi, Sipe, Go Deva, Lalin Top Devo, and it shows Kasunju Sodengan and the Sodusha Bagi, Tindi and that much Chuchi.
So there's said to be 84,000 heaps of the Buddha's teachings, of the Buddha's dharmas, to accord with all of the various attitudes and interests and different types of beings. And so all of these dharmas which are taught for these different types of beings are all gathered into and are condensed within this 37 Bodhisattva practices. That means that there's nothing left out from this text. It's all contained within that text. And this 37 Practices of the Bodhisattvas is a very profound and an extensive text to be practiced. It's very easy to understand and also very easy to put into practice. And so this teaching of the 37 Bodhisattva practices carries really unimaginably great blessing. And this text was taught by a 12th century bodhisattva in Tibet named Gyalse Sambo. And so first, the text starts with Namo Lokeshvaraya, which is the expression of homage.
Tati tandati namusina samsawa imari. Lokeshore sina pobatineze lata ani samsawa sinjikwi wansoga samsalo somitini somimari. Tati jadang ne buki, tenjuki, ane gola, ane tomala, ane tele legjarki ane chobar joba nawa imari. Tati junsinte ane jingna the Bukanjing Jong Chujiti and Jan Pawi and Ma Somaimba. What a day, Tombasiba Dedan, Chu Kongzumaki, Jumsi about the chip. Nina, that Lozawa Gadentema. Then Gela, Pacha Joya, only Jula Sinam Juya. What a the Jujin number, Kashir Gone, then it into Samaki Tomana, the Gekake Gone, Chabajiba Namai.
And so, Namalokeshvarya is in the Indian language, Sanskrit, and the reason, first off, Namo means I offer homage to or I prostrate to, and then Lokeshvarya is the name of Avalokiteshvara. And so, the reason, generally most Tibetan texts, Tibetan Dharma texts, begin with an expression of homage in Sanskrit, and there are various reasons for that. And one is to show that the source of the Buddhist Dharma of Tibet is coming from India, so it's to show the authentic or pure source of Tibetan Buddhist Dharma. And then a second reason is to remember the kindness of the translators who brought the text from India. And another is to place a mental imprint, to place some imprint in your own mind for the knowledge of Sanskrit language. And a final point then is to gain the blessings of expressing that homage in the language of India.
강게 추근 로음이지 좀 로봇동의 제도 존재가 라마 조다 진해진거나 다도 고속급의 산철로스 아니디 답보게 그거는 쳐버려 봐야 말이야.
And then the first full verse here is the Tibetan language expression of homage, which reads, "At all times I prostrate with respectful three doors to the Supreme Guru and the Protector Chenrezig, who, through realizing that all phenomena neither come nor go, strive solely for the welfare of migrators."
그때 저번 주당대 저는 포바진에서 아니 공기 딱 무다 주바가 라마트서 저번 주바이 말에 딱 간데서는 저번 주바이 말이시나 딱 포바진에서 공기 아니 라만남 밖에 유연된 주바가 거는 저번 주바이 말에.
And how is it that this expression of homage is given? It's given through expressing the qualities of both Avalokiteshvara and the author's own direct and lineage lamas.
그때당 포바진에서 아니 제든지 공기 근데 라만 남발라 산주산 냠술린 그 라만 남발라 연된 산좀 맞아봐 만보지 여봐 이 말이데 얘는야 또 연된 그조 근데 넘어니 그거는 왜는 저거 이 말이 대 안에 강그 최근 롬 메시지 세야티 아니 지 시럽 삼모동반이 그거는 저거 대당 로봇 동제 제도 존재바 세야티 근데 제 탐형제 제목 그거는 저거 이 말이지.
And so generally the qualities of Avalokiteshvara and of the author's root and lineage lamas are extremely vast. They are unimaginably vast, but this expression is given by way of two main qualities, which he's saying that Avalokiteshvara and the teachers have. And so the two qualities are shown with the line, "Through realizing that all phenomena neither come nor go," as expressing the quality of wisdom of Avalokiteshvara and the gurus. And then the second is the quality of their method of great compassion, which is shown with that other line, the following line that says that they strive solely for the welfare of migrators.
그때도 관계에서는 포바진에서 전에 저서 토미자고 공기 무당 주바기 라마트 속기 돈 담발에 추대다 담지 아니 롱 징갑 매봐 아니 사모똥바니 된저베 저리스 얘네양 아니 지다데 추담지 아니 돈이 땡종도 된지 또장 근데 생리 단계는 이제 더 모범에 봐 그저 닝지 친구 뭐지 된지가 거네 아니 로바가 동자해 열이 손안이 다 된지가 손을 말이야 된지 이마인데 다 뒤에 가질 때 해요 그래서 아니 이제 동리 닝지 손을 주고 와서야 다 된지 손을 말이야.
And so that's Chenrezig, Avalokiteshvara, and the root and lineage lamas of Gyaltsen Tolme Sangpo, the author of this text. They see that ultimately phenomena are beyond birth and death. He realizes he's expressing that they realize the emptiness of phenomena, the emptiness of everything. But that from that emptiness and interdependence, even though they realize that, they still have this non-conceptual love and compassion, which works for the benefit of beings. So what is that showing? That's showing us what we call the union of compassion and emptiness.
그때 나는 법화진에서기 주몽 많이 받게는 연된질라 아니 만족은 넘버 산제바기 아니 다 주몽 많이 받게 제주세나요 아니 대 상모동만이다 아니 제 탐형지 전부든지 말이에요 아니 다 추주 공부 제주 제동 솔직히 누용 많이 많이나 다 정리가 나는 더요 만소 나 주가 딱 나오 걸리 제가 정리가 나는 더요 다디 정리가 가르치나 다 실업당 형제 사야 되는데 실업동만이다 아니 제 되니 탐형지 전부 뭐다 대니가 난다 만두바가 나주 강양이요 말이에요 아니 대만 소전 다 잠불라는 출렁 망보지 여리데 얘네야 아니 다 투몽 많이 받게 난조 남바 산제 받게 치슈데 같이 섬도만이 있다 아니지 대 닝지 전부 대니가 되는 왜 좋고 여리스 어떤 되니 그거는 저거 말이야.
And so this is a uncommon, very special characteristic of Avalokiteshvara, as well as a very particular characteristic of Buddhism in general, and that is this compassion and emptiness. And so it's said that there are 84,000 heaps of Buddhist Dharma, but if we gather all of them into two key points or two words, that is, those two words would be wisdom and compassion. So the wisdom of emptiness and the great method of compassion. And within the wisdom of emptiness and the method of great compassion, there's nothing in Buddhism that's not contained within those 2 points. And so in the world, there are many different religious traditions, but the very uncommon or very particular characteristic that we have in Buddhism are these 2 points of the wisdom of emptiness and the method of great compassion. And so by way of those 2 points, the author then is expressing this homage.
되네이마인데 아니 조지기 탑단다가 시럽다가 탑다기 간섭 정말 시작 대변이가 뽕마자 손에 들리는 소리를 다 탐행제다 자와기 아니 지 시럽동반이 정과기 람 냠선나만 이마이나 뒤에 이제 시원영이는데 봐 타지를 통로 마도 바기 아니 지 만대 바기 산지지 공방도 토토야 말이지 이한 시럽동반이 당 달성하기 탑 행제 전부 코나게 냥이 디 세바 이마이나 뒤에는 코로와를 청마도 아니 다다는 코로와야 타두고 말이지 대인데 다 시원영이는 데밖에 소집바 긴타당 아니 지금 코로와가 타니 딘타니는 만데 타니를 렌데밖에 되네 아니 산지지 공방 토고와 이마이나 다 시럽당 아니지 능지 손을 주고 어떤 등지가 나온데 냠스는 거와 이마를 손을.
And so Joje Atisha said that with a wisdom which is separated from method, or a method which is separated from wisdom, with either of those paths, one will not be able to attain the non-abiding nirvana. And so what's meant by that is that if you have a wisdom which is separated from the method of compassion, then you will fall into the extreme of one-sided personal peace. And that is not what we refer to as the non-abiding nirvana of Buddhahood, which is not abiding in either personal peace or in samsaric existence. And so as well, if you have a compassion or a method which is separated from or free from wisdom, then you will not be able to be liberated from samsara, and you will still abide in samsara. And so the way to obtain, if you really want to obtain the non-abiding nirvana of Buddhahood, which neither falls into the extreme of peace or in the extreme of samsaric existence, then you have to have this union of method and wisdom, or compassion and wisdom.
근데 다들 된주 좀 밖에 도마라 아니 대 시럽 동반이 있다 탐형지 전부 뒤에는 닝지다 동주 송도 주밖에 연딘 딘대밖에 되는 포바진에서 만소다 되는 공기에는 지금 우리가 주박을라마도 소라 다도 시두다 되는 르마 예수 그거 그거는 산철로 손에 되는 주바주바이 말에.
And so at the beginning of this text, then, the author then expresses that at all times he prostrates with respectful three doors of body, speech, and mind to Avalokiteshvara as well as to his root and lineage lamas who have or who possess these qualities of wisdom and compassion.
The Jumsin Karesan Chopper Jabarisina, the Jumsin number near about it. The Jumsi check there, then the Zomba, Lane, Party Mapa Zomban Tarsenbach Chita, Chopper Jabai Mare. That in Chopper Juna Karesan Zomba, the Party Shavata Zamba Tarsenbaris, the Yorkuma, Kunjo Sona, and it's Sansalvata, Chopper Jabai Mayina, then answer Sonam with Tosa here. Sonam the Tosawa in Bayina, this Sonan didn't make on some drugs in a Sonan didn't make me, so some can some don't carry you by a come about. And it in the Savatan dropped to the Tindiji and dead and Sonan the Tosaya. Then energy your conjoins on the Senata 2G. What a Tinila in the Zamba, Party Shavatan, and Tassimakaton and Zamba in Bali, Chobajuba in Bali.
And so why would one compose such an expression of homage at the beginning of a text? So there's a couple reasons. One reason is that by composing this expression of homage and prostration and homage, then it will eliminate the obstacles to the composition of the text and allow one to complete the composition of the text. And why is it that would accomplish that task? Why would expressing this homage and prostration eliminate obstacles or allow one to complete it? And because through expressing this prostration, through expressing one's homage, then one gathers, one accumulates merit. And it's said that those who have merits, meritorious people, are able to accomplish all of their intentions without obstacle. And so one attains that blessing, which will lead to, or which will itself pacify any obstacles to the composition of the text.
Then Shola, Tanganzo the Plaza Careso Mayerisina, Tanganzo with Sawa Care, the Dubai Bayana, and it did Tomatela, your Kumane, Lamada, Sanju Gene, and it Conjosona, and it Sansawa. Chobar Jeba, what so on the Gogis. Penna, Manzochi, Nimachi, Ki, Ta, Gotu by Bayana, Thomas Shobaya, Langyomba Ki, and it's Toma Della. Then, Tana, nearly Yasen, Manzojita, so much Jehera, so much Tomay. This song of Toma Della, Tamanzoji, Lana, then Conjo son, Jesus Jamba, then Conjo son, Jobson Drova, Conjo son, Sorandava. Then 이제 양 니만 찍을 때는 아니 나기지디 사와잠보 주비인 아니 삼바잠보 세인 삼바기 아니 지디 만난다 셈지 뭐다 드니 고조 고그리스 뭐다 쇼르면서 드니가 담아래 만소지 남지 초바가 초라다 내가 최종까지 사와 최종까지 드바이나래 아니 제다 토마야 랑네래 제 토마 사와당 두당 아니 반 사마지 수가 임바이나요 아니 지 토마테는 쳬바지발라서 봐 뭐 된저 고그리스 아나운서 된데 서서는 거리스.
And so, as a side note to that, a little side note about general practice, then, whatever activities we are going to engage in the beginning, before we start, it's important then to offer supplication, prostration to the three jewels and to the Lama, and to supplicate to them. And if we think just about a single day of our life, in that single day, when we first wake up, we're going to think of something. And our first thought, we should turn to remembering the three jewels, to taking refuge, to making supplication. And then for whatever activities that we're hoping to accomplish or that we are engaging in that day, then we should first make such a supplication. Even just in our normal day-to-day activities, even something as simple as cooking some food or something like that, then we should also be engaging in this activity.
Tene ma zombar tamjawade, ta tela pendin yungne zopo sanje na tamchu doble sonde deyang de lalen shila ralebe jase namje lalen shibrsa sonane ti zombar tamjawa nawibare.
And so the next section is the commitment to compose the text. And so this section reads, "The perfect Buddhas, source of benefit and happiness, arise from accomplishing the sublime Dharma. And as that accomplishment depends on knowing the Dharma practices, I will explain the Bodhisattva practices."
펜디 sonde ta pembasayate ane maso nekal pembayi mare nekal chi tsendela tene soso nazo chi samba shiwa yonya ane chi samba jibo yonya ane tene samba zambo yonya ane chi sawa langdo yonya ane chi tsendi ke chi lisen ke shidela soba te tang tene jewa sama ane nazo chi ngendola soba le tanna ane chi tori lada me dewa la soba ane nekal dewa te tang pemba te tane tatu dewa sedita an soda ane tine ta donale ma targona ane chi tatu 다 타고 산지지 고막 타고 요리 어디 내가 펜바당 타도 그 대화때 강나때 있는 종은 요리스나 아니 조부 산지를 송은 요리 송는데 다 가려 간데스는 종은 요리스나 다 산지기 나는 소리 추좀 고로고 추소 다티 추되는 나는 소리 법장세 냠슬라마 임바이나 되네 제 달라야 나는 소지다 지본 용어리나 아니 제가 스마라야 아니 제가 토리라소가기 아니 대화 라소바도 토요래. 근데 타도 아니 산지 주념서 나만의 띠는 근데 다 타바다 산지지 공방. 어디 타바 연디 그 펜데데다 단위 용어이 말인데 근데 펜디 용내데 산지지. 다 산지데 강나데 있는 성용말이 있습니다. 대양 나한소 시고가 직 가려지는 나한소 그 돈바데 넘버 산지바 그 돈바데 아니 담보 나한소 난진 그 소수지오지 근데 산조 그선 톡지 근데 이제 연동도 이제 두연을 몰라는 이제 산조 선박을 쥐어봐 냠서 나와도 되는데 산지 공방 도바이 말에 산지는 담주 더블에 송대 뭐다 되는지 말에.
And so the Buddha's source of benefit and happiness. So first we can talk about this word benefit. In this verse, the word benefit is referring to the kind of immediate benefit. And that immediate or temporary benefit is referring to kind of a peaceful or happy state of mind, things going our way, and the immediate sense of samsaric happiness or, in a later existence, like in a next life or a future life, to be freed from taking birth in any kind of negative states and attaining again states of birth in the higher realms of gods or humans. And then the word happiness in this verse is referring to the ultimate happiness, which is that freedom or ultimate liberation from suffering into the state of Buddhahood. And so we're talking about both the immediate and ultimate benefit and happiness here. And all of those come from the Buddha. So the perfect Buddha is being referred to as the source of benefit and happiness. And those Buddhas themselves come from, as it says here, accomplishing the sublime Dharma. So our Buddha, the Buddha who is the teacher of the Dharma that we're studying here, started off as an ordinary being who generated that mind of bodhicitta, and then spent a very extensive amount of time practicing and accomplishing those Dharma practices. And so that is the source of our Dharma.
타이에가 생기나 내가 뱀봤다. 아니 타도 그 대화때 아니 다 되게 좀 군세 연대 군인가 조부 산지를 때 있는 거 송요리. 다 조부 산지 때 아니 지 담부 추드바를 때 있는 거 송요리 송은 되는 거 송 나와요 말에. 다 단추 드거나 담부 추 드거와 임바이나 다 간드제 거 그랬으나 다 도마 아니 지 추드바기 다 추가 라리 대니 시고 그래서 대 라린 시라라 레베 대는 자세 남자 라린 시버사 손한테 소마레.
And so if for the accomplishing that immediate and ultimate benefit and happiness for limitless sentient beings, one must be a fully perfected Buddha, which means that they have completely exhausted or eliminated all faults and completely perfected all qualities. And so that perfection of Buddhahood comes from accomplishing the Dharma. And so if we want to accomplish the Dharma, first we have to know how to practice Dharma. And so that's why at the end of the text it says that as that accomplishment depends on knowing the Dharma practices, I will explain the Dharma practices.
되네 다 어디 산진이바 그 감정성이 있으면은 그 드바 레전 드처도 손을 되는 손나와래. 대선도 가르성이 있으면 다 당봉하는 저추 드거나 추 드바 임바이나 다추 드단데 추 드처 아니 이제 게들 란더트서 시야 하전 그 침물이 송가래. 근데 이제 추 드바 레전 드처도 송가래. 가르스는 추 드바게 드처도 요새는 다 나는 소가 추 드당 야고지 개와당 아니 개로 배용 대표님이 그 게들 란더트네 근데 이제 추 드당데 야고지 마시베 임에이나 나는 소지 대 소소게 추 드는 되는 갑지 매종 존주세 빠져 임에이나야 개와도 양다와지 차요는 있는데 하고 말해 되는데 임에인데 냐미 다보는 뭐지 추지 마제나 추지 랑난 손도 치바세바 그 조시도 손도 되는 거 손나 아닌가.
And so the second Buddha from Odhiyana has said that even more important than practicing the Dharma is knowing the way to practice the Dharma. And so what does that mean? That means that you have to know very precisely how to practice the Dharma, the way which it should be put into practice, the way of accomplishing virtue and abandoning non-virtue. If you don't know that, if you don't know very precisely how to put Dharma into practice, if you don't know the benefits of virtue and the faults of non-virtue or vices, then even if you apply yourself very diligently and you do many austerities and work very hard in your practice, you don't really know if you're going to accomplish anything from that. And so also the incomparable Lord Gampopa said that if you don't practice Dharma according to the Dharma or in accordance with the authentic Dharma, then that Dharma itself will lead you into the lower realms.
추지는 맞아요. 추지 랑내 성도 집에서 그 저시 있어야 돼. 담을 추 들어가도 되는 내 성도 제 송해요. 다추 들어서 야보지 마시베 임바이나. 당한서 제 현도 라 추도 추도데 추 도데 요사 얘는 라린데 아니 추 양다바도 마송네. 아니 추 신절로도 또 송아 임바이나. 추 마임바 차 송아 임바이나. And so
it's not that Gampopa is saying that Dharma itself will lead you to the lower realms. He's saying that If you don't know how to practice Dharma correctly, you'll think you're doing Dharma, but the actual practice you're doing is not in accordance with Dharma, and that incorrect practice can lead you into the lower realms, or that misunderstanding or misappropriation of Dharma can lead you into the lower realms. And so now with these preliminary verses, the introduction or introductory verses to the 37 Bodhisattva practices are complete, and now we move into the actual practices, or the actual 37 practices, and that begins with the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages. So that verse begins, at this time when the difficult to obtain ship of leisure and fortune has been obtained, ceaselessly hearing, pondering, and meditating day and night in order to liberate oneself and others from the ocean of cyclic existence is the Bodhisattva's practice.
Tendije yimba yinde ta tarwa se yinde manzo chen garjin ge cha mokhambne te pa charna teni chu droba la manzo che tarwa yeba kokab yeba o ta tendila ne tarwa je sin tenu song yede tene nyarwa yada tando lalo la da charen ta loda tene sanjeji tongba tene wongbo tatani sibo me bakuba watati mohammed ne je sinatenu song yori tatine jele ani tarwena ani chudwa na so tarwa kokabiri tine ngatinda tarwa ke ani chudwa ke tarwa da dembas.
So first we need to understand what is meant by in Tibetan we have the words tel and jor, which I'm translating as freedoms and advantages. And so the first, what that is discussing is the actual physical support or the body, it also involves circumstances which will lead one to be able to practice Dharma. And so the first one, which I'm translating as freedoms, so they're saying leisure and fortune. It's kind of the same thing, but these words get translated like 20 different ways in different books. So, so what we're talking about is being free from certain types of adverse circumstance which would not allow you to practice Dharma. So it's talking about so having the time or opportunity to be able to practice Dharma. And that is being freed from 8 states. And I'm going to have to translate in my head from Tibetan because it's okay. Nyawa, so it's freedom from the hell states, nyawa yida. From the pretas or hungry ghosts, nyawa yida. From the animals,
okay.
Okay. Okay, so Khenpo said I don't need to list them off individually, but the point is that when you're free from those 8 states, then you have those 8 freedoms. If you want to know the 8 after the lecture, I can tell them to you.
단 튠진라 네 산제송의 뒤주송 때문에 대진적 majority 왕보 창나소가 그 요와쪽 연대인데 창문도 추주가 그 튠진데 난소가 차상 창요 열리스 된좀 가진다 따라와 추주가 그는 튠진다 창와 그 류딘데라 tene tamjor ko lutin sin tene song yo.
And so the other side of this is what's called here fortunes. I often translate this word as advantages. But anyway, so the first aspect was being free from certain adverse circumstances in a way that you have an opportunity. The second is actually having some advantage or having some fortune. It's not just a freedom from something bad, it's actually having something good. So the second are a list of 10 fortunes or advantages. And so when you have those free separation from 8 problems and gaining or having 10 positive features, then that's what's referred to as having the difficult to find human body of the freedoms and advantages or leisures and fortunes.
Ta tende 단전 니다 덴바기 다 루틴 추드바기 루틴 체판 파바테 하장가 나온조 니까와 임발이스 tende 제 조단 장페 고 니벌까와 tende 송요 tende tende 하자 니벌까와 임발이스 다 tende 나온조 제 물리 추드바기 물리테 아니 더버세발라테는 나온조 제 제왕 문만네 tende 초사 아니 제 몰란다 tende tende geza 자침보지 사샤바 tende tina 다 다른 나온조나 이제 추드바기 아니 티 담존니다 데모기 리체파 포고도 톱데바 임말이 딘디제 임말인데 다 소소에나 가와고 다 제티 제왕만테 순남니 다 다리 리팅 체파 포고도 톱데디 다 담조 추주서 마상와세네 되기 때문에 아니 제 담부 추라 추상검도 야고지 조기 신의 딘디베 상동고리스.
And so this very particular, very supreme or superior physical support or body then is extremely, extremely difficult to find. And in the text it's explained by various different ways in how difficult it is to explain. By way of the cause being difficult to accomplish, by way of numeric examples comparing it to the different numbers of the stars in the sky and the day and night and all this kind of stuff. So there's many different ways in which it's shown to be extremely precious and extremely difficult to find. And this is the particular physical support which allows one to be able to practice Dharma. And we should recognize that this is the result of our virtues of our past lives, of our aspirations and virtues that we have accomplished an extremely vast store of merit in our past life to be able to attain such a supreme physical support, such a supreme body and precious opportunity. And so we should really understand, we should really consider that to be our merit and be joyful about that, and also make a commitment that we're not going to let that opportunity go to waste, but that we're going to apply ourselves diligently in hearing, contemplation, and meditation on the Dharma.
tene 단전니다 덴바기 루틴테 가레세나 짜침보리 세 tende 세바 임바이나 다 디나니 베 드르르 틴나 tende 송샤 드 여러분 이베 드르 그 저도 가면데 빼서 이거 랑여리스는 빼는다 담줄 니다 덴바게 루데 아니 지 존다오데스 다티 졸라티나다 잠솔레 아니 파롤레 가르토비여와 졸라티나 파롤레 가르토비여리스 어페 대진도 다 다른 나는 소리 담줄 니다 덴바게 루틴티 때문에 다 나는 소리 지 담부취라 럽장다 냐미 야고지 세바 이마이나 되게 루틴 데네 ane soso yen ba yen re rang tene yin senji oto ranjin senji mamboji kolwa ki ene donga bi janto chembo tele darte ene tinji dewa ane sanji ji komang ane roto yeres ota dichane te ngana so ke lutin de ane chebo pawa imbare somare.
And so why is this physical body, this body or opportunity of leisures and fortunes or freedoms and advantages, why is it so precious? Why is it considered a supreme body? And so it is shown in the text as being like a boat. And why is it said to be like a boat? Because this support, just like how a boat can help you cross the great ocean and get to the other side, this physical body, if we apply it diligently in studying and practicing the Holy Dharma, then it can help us, not only us, but us and other beings, to cross the ocean of samsara and attain the ultimate or permanent state of Buddhahood. And that's why it's referred to as a supreme physical support or a supreme body.
Then, dan zambalin de gan ni ji subo chishu ta ji dolo ta de dongsor ki dago yoba ima yene yang ta di ani peshat so ki chendi ki ni ji so ki ta chowa ge tan ga kamari ta chen mi jenda yene yang ji chowa ki dan tunji dinji ge tan dan tunji kashi do to ba kanga kashi sat to ba za ma do ba ki ta jegan nan la so ba ki nin korwa ka donga ta mebazo tawe yo mare ta na yi ki ani jin zambalen ki chik to chin ki da jakatan ji ki ani ji tin ji sinzen pombo no ji ma yin yang ani di lu tin ti ani ji lomba de la ani ji ta jakabun chu pung da ya ji jin ji ka ta ne ta ji le ka ja chen mo ji do ta ba zam ma do ani ji korwa ki je ga nan che la so ba ki ene donga ta mebazo to yo mare ta raya zo to yo mare me jenda yang ni chi ti chiga nan chi ka donga khora ki ni chi donga le ra nyu mo ba ta chiga nan chi la so ba donga da mebazo to ndo o ta ti chiga nan chi la so ba khora ka donga te so ane chi ma del tawar se ba ki ta lutin te ta 가제 있으나 단전이다 된 막 루틴 때지 숨마리 된디지 인디 다른 안 소리딩 된니다 된데 막 감나 되네 년당 천도 예로만 받네 신나다 소소기다 년 천도네 된데 예로만 받도 수다 당정세 매받다 준주세나 되네 년 성공 받자실라니 숨마리.
And so even the richest people in this world, those who have billions and billions of dollars, they can provide some sustenance or some help to, in terms of supporting their own lives and in the lives of some other people. They can even help alleviate some difficulties or some problems in their own others' lives because of their money. But they cannot alleviate the problems of birth, aging, sickness, and death just by being rich. As well, the very powerful presidents and ministers of very powerful countries as well, they can use their influence and their power to help their countries, to increase infrastructure and so on. They can use that to build some helpful things and to decrease some problems, but as well, they cannot do anything about birth, aging, sickness, and death. And therefore, then, if you want to eliminate this karma and afflictions, the source of this birth, aging, sickness, and death, then you need to have this body with its freedoms and advantages. And so then it says that with this body of freedoms and advantages, having obtained that, then it says that one should ceaselessly apply oneself at hearing, pondering, and meditating day and night in order to liberate oneself and others with great effort and determination.
Tana tan ninsam gumba sayate 가르송을 열으시는다. 나좀마 나 추게 가나네 투상 검som 신의 성을 해봐야 말이. 단니 세대 아니지다 라마 게비신이라 소바가 돈네 추님바다 되네 소소게네 지다 추기 달로바다 아니 다든네 너는 아니지 추 로전세바가 차대라 아니 다다다 님바 투바신네 되는 소리야 다 삼바세인데 다 아니진데 소소게 추라 라마 게비신이라 소바가 돈네 추 투바다 야는 말한 저게 지 달라 소발로네 추 로전세샤바가 돈나 아니 상모 양도 아니 나는 저기 때 써놓다네 아니 말 돈도지 어떤 딘지라 아니 삼바스 되는 소리 요래 되나 주가 로장 그 찬을 말에 이 말에 딱 검세인데 딱 줄로 로장세 샤바 그 동태서 아니 저 라들라나 아니 소소 그 줄이 잔나 아니 냥이세야 되라 아니 검세는 되는 소리 요래 되는데 줄로 로장다 줄로 이제 라레세나 아니 냥스나 어떤 때는 이제 투성 검솜세 되는 소리 요래.
And so what's talked about here, where it says hearing, pondering, and meditating. So in the text, it uses more colloquial words, where it says hearing, pondering, and meditating. In real kind of Dharma terminology, it's often referred to as hearing, contemplation, and meditation, or study, contemplation, and meditation. And that's the so first, when we're talking about hearing or studying, we're talking about receiving teachings from before a teacher, or just reading books about Dharma. And so that's the first aspect of studying Dharma. The second, which we call contemplation, is having taken that meaning that we've either heard from a spiritual master or that we have read in books, and thinking of it, contemplating it again and again until we reach some certainty about it, till we cut through our misunderstandings, is what we refer to as contemplation. So those first two are the aspect of study. And then third is meditation. And so we take all of those things that we have learned through our study and we really directly apply them to our mind stream and put them into practice. So these three are what we call the process of hearing, contemplation, and meditation. And so for Buddhists, this threefold process was described in the Abhidharmakosha by Vasubandhu, where he said that the process of study and practice of Buddha Dharma should follow the stages of hearing, contemplation, and lastly, meditation. And so then, in terms of the present text, if you think that you want to put the 37 practices of the Bodhisattvas into practice, then first you need to hear the teachings, you need to study the text. Then you need to take the meaning that you've heard and you need to think about it again and again until you arrive at a certainty in it. And then you take that thing that you've become certain about and really put that into practice in meditation. And so forget about even Dharma practice, even just in general worldly activities, it's the same. First you have to learn how to do something before you do it, right? So if we think about it in a very simple way, in the smallest manner, even if you just think about you want to start cooking, first you have to learn how to cook. Then you practice some cooking techniques, and finally if you cook a meal, it's going to come out good, right? And similarly, if you want to learn how to drive, first you have to learn how to drive, then you need to do some practice, then you can actually drive. If you try to drive a car without ever learning how to do it, then it's quite dangerous, and so is Dharma.
얘는 아니 지금 나주대 아니 줄로 진다 만다고 그배 자첨보 댄서부 된데 요대 봐 이말에 된데지 이말인데 되네 줄 로장서야 뭐다 더속배 하진 그 전부 나와 이말에 그 로장서야다 아니 지금 냥내서야 어떤 람바트서 나주가 나는 그 전부 송도.
So Buddhism, compared to a lot of other religious traditions, is extremely profound. And all religious traditions are positive, they're all good. But comparatively, Buddhism is extremely vast and profound, and therefore it really needs to be, you need to study it very well and then put it into practice and follow these stages of practice.
아니 나주가 상관 나주가 따주 아니 진짜 줄진다 정말 뭐뭐도요 봤다 되는 송낭도 왔다 다가랑이 되는 지금 나주서야 돼 자천보다 댄서 보인 말이 진짜 이마인데 아무도 그치 법정 말 법정다 냥니 된지 맞아버세 다가장고 나한테 그 뒤에도 제 가동적으로 소원으로 답대가 점지 나주도 좋아하는 나한테 제 시야다 냥니도 칼렉하고 이 말이 되는지 이마인데
So in Buddhism, we can discuss Buddhist science, Buddhist psychology, as well as Buddhist view or Buddhist philosophy. So we have many different kind of levels that we can discuss within Buddhism, and therefore Buddhism is something which is extremely vast and profound to study. And if we don't try to study and put it into practice and we just recite some prayers and supplications, it's going to be very hard to ever really have an understanding of what Buddhism is.
맹아 삼배 태좀 런도죠 숨바리다 디 투바가 동대로 나는 저거 양대 저 삼삼당 이제 진짜 세바 임바이나 태좀 나서 그 런도에서 추동대 생각은 좀 추. 다네 이제 곰바세나 갈리스는 곰송 오잖아요. 그 지진설 송. 다네 이제 곰 잡아 임바이나 다네 곰송 비시라 아니 추탐지 끝내 놓고 또 같아서 나는 저기 근데 줄 지나 다네 이제 다 투비시라 삼비시라 곰비시라 지 다네 투비시라 그 메시부터발에 줄 삼비시라 그 태좀 라소바 그 돈도 서 곰비시라 그 이제 내놓고 동대다 담지 줄도 또 벌써 요리 송 되는 송하래.
And so in the Mahamudra Aspiration Prayer, it describes what is the result of each of these three, of hearing, contemplation, and meditation. So it says in the text, in the prayer, that by hearing, you will be separated from or released from that obscuration or that cloud of ignorance in terms of scripture and actual understanding. And that through contemplation, you will cut through or cut off all of your misunderstandings and doubts. And through meditation, that the true reality will become authentically apparent or authentically clear. And so then this, the results then are what are referred to as the wisdom of hearing, the wisdom of contemplation, and the wisdom of meditation.
다네 파요봉마 이네마 제슬라네데 숨바이마데
And
this so the ninja solan the chap chadario dry sol sedamedam bar landurji but the momenachi payoponga jaselani sumbade.
And then the next verse is about abandoning one's homeland. So the verse reads, "The mind of attachment to loved ones wavers like water. The mind of hatred of enemies burns like fire. The mind of ignorance, which forgets what to adopt and what to discard, is greatly obscured. Abandoning one's fatherland is the Bodhisattva's practice.
The tambo ni ju solan to cha cha da yo sidi da ni sidi rang de chi hama puji ani ji da de punja ni ni ren de ni to ganza la so ba what the dig sola de ni ha jang ge ang so ge chi di cha ji che wa yin ba yin na de ni din de cha de so ani ji cho ge ba la na ji se ba me ba ani ji din de cha de so shu chi chi ra ni ni mong pro ge yo de sin tin so mai ba de.
And so then the attachment to loved ones, such as one's parents, children, brothers and sisters, cousins, close and near, all of your family. If you have very strong, your friends as well, friends and lovers, then if you have a very strong attachment to them, a very strong grasping and attachment to them, then just like the waves in the ocean, then those they will arrive ceaselessly. These waves will continue ceaselessly and only become stronger and stronger.
Dai so the shedam medambar sumarita randa ani je rangi nzashi tan chim what the dedalam ani je that nobasin ki date so la ani kum shin control da shin kum se na teni shedam ke so ani je ta meta ban barna barba yimba yena ta de control la so ba ani dai so la ni je control la so ba je wa yena teni shedam tan je meta de barna teni je rang ju ki gewa tan ani je sim shewa la so ba ma super se ye is.
And so then if you have as well a hatred and enmity towards those who cause harm to any of your close ones, your friends and family, then that burning of anger, that burning of hatred will destroy your virtue and your peace of mind.
Then dani kayam mai ba what the tindi la then ani je yang the landor ji but mo mena ji sina ani da so ni ge so la cha dai so dan ani je dani kayam mai ba so la ni je yang ani chadan la so ba ma ji gewa da ma gewa kayam ma ji ba ka ni je tomo ki tomo ke lo ji he yaris then de da do cha ta chon ra wo kan do cha ani je de me bom barwan ra wo ke shedang then mo ban ra wo ke tomo te 강한 때 있는 종이 열리세는 아니지 화요일 때 있는 같은 종이 열리지 근데 이제 다 자동 무선데 빵을 세 발라 아니지 통화 막 화요 봉 거 그래서 화요 봉만 제셀라네 소말.
And then third we have the mind of ignorance. So this is towards those who are neither one's friends nor enemies. Who one neither feels attachment or hatred towards, but just has a neutral or ignorant state of mind towards. So we have no particular attitude towards them, which is virtuous or non-virtuous. And so we had the attachment, which was likened to the waves. Hatred, which was likened to a burning fire, and ignorance, which is forgetfulness or ignorance. And so all three of these three poisonous minds of attachment, aversion, and ignorance come about because of one's fatherland, because of one's experience in one's fatherland. And so in order to abandon attachment, ignorance, and aversion or hatred, then it's said in the text that abandoning one's fatherland is the Bodhisattva's practice.
and the judgment malareban roke and it chuba raptor tambo tinjuan do yoris 파열 빵나 아니 지 웬발라서 봐는 어따 드리베 판단은 주인님이 나요 근데 얘는야 나저 네 제형 그거는 다 파열 빵와서 해야 돼다 나랑 조금 남준시에 대바 파열 어따 태코나 이마 말해 다 지난 파열서야 돼 가래도 고 그러시나 주 체슈 당 안조 제 자당 무슨 제와 그 열당 자당 무슨 쇼침부 제와서 봐 진 어따 대소를 봐 아니 마 빵고 그래 대소를 봐 줄고 그래 대소를 봐 열고 그래 손 드는 손이래 대마도야 안조 제 파열 못하지 않는 롱바지엔다 제는 도고에 그게 되는 말
And so that is abandoning one's homeland. But so, for example, in the past, those who we call the listeners and the solitary realizers, the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas in the past, that's the way that they would practice, is that they would have a homeland where they had a lot of attachment and aversion, and in order to overcome that, they would abandon that place, go to another place, and seek solitude in order to practice. And Milarepa as well followed that type of path where he left his homeland of attachment and aversion and went into a solitary place to practice. And that is one way of understanding this verse, but that's not the only way to understand this verse. It's not as if everyone has to abandon their homeland. This verse is also understood in the sense that, and the primary way it should be understood, is that whatever is the object which is generating these three poisonous minds of attachment, ignorance, and aversion, or the situations or conditions which give rise to these three poisonous minds, those are the conditions or objects which you should be abandoning or separating yourself from. And it's not as if all people have to abandon one place and actually physically go to another place to practice Dharma.
근데 다 주체시대 안에 나서 이제 레 담보바 임바이나 아니 저기 여르기지나 뜨나 안에 나서 이제 양 여르기지나 뜨나 아니 저 자동문선라서 봐도 용모가 프로예요 근데 이제 임바인데 다 주체시는 내는 파요방세인데 다지 나서 이제 자동문선 아니 지 쇼첨보제 용하기 딘지 그 진당 딘지 그 고요 뭐다 딘지를 담보 아니 봐 방고 그래 송가리 딘지제 이메일 녀몽방와 그런 거 딘지에 만송데 아니 가르송을 요시나 아니 레 담보부터서 아니 녀몽발에 주고 그래 배는 녀몽바지 자당 무상나서 봐 녀몽바지 딘지제 용하기 진다 체인데 다레 담보빈 바니 대 마지막 타피텔 파 윤 아니 파 주고 그래스 근데 바르는 뇽몽바는 탑고 그래스다 뇽몽바지 귤 근데 쥐제 아니 뇽몽바게 제외 연로고 근데 지나 체용마이나 되는 님보 줄 때나 아니 지 뇽몽바들 파 탑고 그래스 님보 때는 뇽몽바도 막 빵고 그래스 근데 다만 뇽몽바를 결고 그래서 진입 성을 너무 고마워서 나와봤나 다나 진지 다단데 영능바 세야야 담보만서 지 자동송기 지역기 요당 지 가사 되는 제용만 이마이나 될 파유 파주 되는 집다 다시 내가 간지고 대당 되네 아니 지다 소소기 지 취급 법장다 냥니도 돼서 야젠로 용도 되네 아니 지다 양 가도 이마이나 당한 용모바 제용을 내 용모바 제와 그 진리스는 되는지 파 주대바 많이 봤어요나 근데 진짜 진행 받은 태양나 진행의 랑랑나 녀몽의 님보 되나는 녀몽 받은 마방으로 그랬어 근데 다만은 다 나눠서 추법장이하고 차 냐네 가리 하고 차차로 그 요가 다 녀몽 봐 제와 그열 아니 되니 진 다래제 제가 임바 있네요 근데 이제 녀몽 봐그 줄을 마우 봐 녀몽 받아서 아니 지만 진이 조져 찾다 봐 왔다 되는 거 그래서 되는 소마이 말해
And so this is talking primarily in terms of abandoning. It is the method given for beginners in practice. So, as a result of certain circumstances or certain objects, certain people, then our three poisonous minds rise up. And so then for beginners, the main advice given is run away from those things. Stay away from them, abandon them, the things that give rise to your three poisonous minds. And then, so in the beginning, this is beginner's advice, is run away or abandon those conditions which are giving rise to them. And then in the middle, when someone has gained a little bit more experience in practice and study, then one should face those things when they arise, and you should apply the appropriate antidotes in order to not be disturbed by the conditions and by those objects. And then finally, one should actually use those emotions, use those poisonous minds as practice. And so those are kind of the three levels of practice. The first is to abandon or separate oneself, leave the situation, which would be either a condition or a person or a place which gives rise, which causes those three poisonous minds to arise in your mind stream. Second is through a little bit more advancement and development of your own practice and your own qualities to know how to apply the appropriate antidotes to the three poisonous minds as they arise. And then third, once you have reached a much higher level of practice and study, then the arising of those three poisonous minds actually itself becomes the practice of Dharma.
Tene 이제 다디나네 파열세야데 아니 자담 무슨 제가 그열 될 거가세. tene di payo pang se le tamu ba kabla tene ani che chadang musom shukchen bu che yong ma ke jin dang di ne de so la ni che dang bo chu de le pa te ta ka se te pang tene ani je rembe che so so chu lo jan da nyani ya jen ro yong ba kabla tene ta do ani je te ka se no yan di ne ta ji ke ta chul nang so de gu ma to ba bo ta tin ko ha yu le se so the
so then when we're speaking of abandoning one's fatherland, then again we're speaking of abandoning the circumstances or the places which give rise to our three afflictive emotions, our three poisonous minds. And so as a beginner then, it is important, the stage as a beginner, or the way to understand this as a beginner, is to abandon the circumstances which are giving rise to us, or to separate oneself from the circumstances which give rise to one's poisonous minds. And then as one develops oneself, as one engages in the practice, develops oneself and improves their state of mind, finally, one is no longer even affected by any of the negativity of those three poisonous minds in their arising. And so the most important point here is to make efforts in not allowing the three poisonous minds of attachment, aversion, and ignorance to arise. And so next is the section on relying upon solitude. So the text reads, when harmful places are abandoned, disturbing emotions gradually diminish. Without distraction, virtuous endeavors naturally increase. Being clear-minded, definite understanding of the Dharma arises. Resorting to secluded places is the Bodhisattva's practice.
이제 뇽모가 제와 그 요때다. 근데 내가 난진기 이제 남주에 나온 소지다. 던져다. 나이 어떤지 풀어봐기. 내가서 아니 취도가 깔라 아니 용내 봐이 말에. 대인도 딘지 용내데 빠마 이마이나 아니 디 요팅 라틴 아니 다 제용하기 자동 성나 소바기 남도 당 던져서 아니 잠진 접이여리 어다 생각 주는 나는 저 지금 던져다 남이 용모 받아서 아니 마 매바 차과 이마이나 근데 gebjongsi 소소게 취를 롭장다 근데 검냥니 다지 상바다 ninji 상주 선라서 봐 되는 양니 gebjong을 받아서 아니 라이 난기야 아니 공팔된 도토비여리.
And so then, when harmful places are abandoned, so those harmful places are what we just finished speaking about in the previous verse. So those are the places which give rise to our poisonous minds of attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, jealousy, and so on. As well as anything that causes us, ordinarily causes us distraction, and to be involved in sort of busyness and distraction. And so anytime when we are practicing Dharma, those are what are referred to as a bad place or a harmful place for practicing Dharma. And if one abandons such a place or circumstance, condition, then all of those thoughts, that busyness and those thoughts and those afflictive emotions gradually diminish. And when they eventually it says they gradually diminish, and then without distraction, so when they have completely gone their way, then all of one's virtues, those virtues coming from one's study, as well as one's practice of love, compassion, bodhicitta, and so on, are naturally increasing.
Tene tat lu 던져당 tene semgenang지 tene 나 차다무서 나서 봐 남도당 tene 당한조지 남이 그 안에 똑같다 메도가 마총을 들어온데 tene semgenang나다지 검냥이 값서지 디 생구 터러나서 봤는데 그 중요하라 봐 what the so 파시엔로데 tene rakwa tang tene ene rakwa tang ma ka kabla tene gomnyang 가르치 세바 임바이나양 아니 데리 추가 배 야고 차거든 추는 시지 데리제 임바인데 데네 레탐보 파케네 웬마팅 거그리스 웬마팅 거 자셀라니 정말.
And when one separates oneself from a place which is busy and distracting, and when the attachment, aversion, ignorance, and thoughts, general thoughts and busy and distracted thoughts become lesser and lesser, and when one can avoid the faults of meditation, such as dullness and agitation, busyness and sleepiness, then one's mind becomes very clear, and whatever one practices or meditates on will be accomplished, and one will attain certainty in that Dharma. And so then, that's why it says then, the final line, resorting to secluded places is the Bodhisattva's practice.
Tene ta wemba seyendu ane lun dunzel wemba. Tene nga ta de jajo le wemba. Tsulnam to le wemba sinane tene wemba som tene som yode. Lun dunzel wemba. Nga tene ta keja mambo she de jajo wemba. Tsulnam to le wemba sinane tene wemba tin se de tene go wemba tin go yode.
Listen. And so there are three types of seclusion that are discussed in Dharma. So one is having one's body secluded from busyness or busy places, having one's speech secluded from chatter and discussion, and having one's mind secluded from conceptual thought.
Tene 참참주 다 ndinane wembatin se de ta nga zu chi gomje retro de ni gomje roya o tinila yung wemba song yode ta yene ya ndinane gishi wembatin no ta da wemba som do pena lun donje le wemba se ni chi lu ka ta sabji mambo chi ta tin donje mambo ka le ka mambo de na nga zu yang gomde ya ko cha gom do gom ya ni tene nga 다 자주도 웬바지도 다양 깨점 몽부시 깨점 몽부용 된지되나 양안에 나wen 바차리요 말이 다 선을 말세도 선지 자동 무선다 나도 몽부지 된지 제대로 인바이는 웬바 돈도 된지 인도 되는 제단 웬바지도 나온죠 제다 정당 아니 지 동절라서고 많이 바기지다 네 로라서고다 장도라서고 근던 것 된지 저 웬바시는 드립송이요 제단지 조송도 드립송이요 얘는 다 이제 나는 기치슈 때 웬바서야 되는 저 선다 남도당 아니지 용몽바 어찌 뒤지왕도 맞아버세는 근데 선데 개와 같은 내도 봐 뭐다 웬바서는 아니 되는 기치슈 때 됐으면 요리스.
And so sometimes when people are discussing seclusion or solitude, then they are specifically talking about going to some very secluded place to meditate, some mountain retreat or something like that. But here, the most important point is what we were just discussing is these three types of solitude, which was having one's body separated from all types of busyness and activities, that you're not involving yourself in many different activities, because if you're involved in lots of different work and activities, it's going to be hard to have some stability in meditation. Similarly, if you're talking all the time and being involved in conversations, you're not going to be meditating. And then thirdly, to have your mind free from distraction and conceptual thought. And so generally when people just say the word seclusion or solitude, often they're talking about leaving the city and going to a mountain retreat or to the ocean coast, to some like secluded place to meditate. But that's not necessarily what's being discussed here. The most important point here is to have one's mind isolated from thought and afflictive emotion, and one's mind to be resting in virtue or placed into a virtuous state.
Then, when I'm talking lose chundoji, that come down that ya rechundo, and it's never mado, they were in the Yena, and it's Sunday, and it went but in Matobas and some non dota new mambo, Jay, they were in Bayana, that went but them go much over here. When I'm Jeta. Radala soba tesong so ani je tongda tongchen man la soba meba ki satung ba de ni de de yo to yena yang koron so ani je wema temba ko che yo mari de wema temba de ne koron so dor to yo mari ta 가르치는 그 체질도 koron so je sang de ne de wema temba ro ba de ni cha yo re de je ne ne wema temba se de 그 치슈 되라 나는 so je sang de 뉴몽다 남도 la soba le wen 봐 아니 샘데 아니 지 뉴몬다 난도 그 왕도 마셔왔어요. 아니 샘데 아니 지 개와다 검냥이 가래 제 세바 임바이나야. 디 개와 그 먹고 아니 지 제제 봐 네, 토바 임바이나. 어따드네 왜 마jan다 봐도 차고요래.
And so if someone were to go and meditate in an isolated mountain retreat, but their mind is caught up in thought and affliction, then that doesn't count as solitude, that doesn't count as isolation. As well, all the wild animals living in the forest, they don't live in the city. They're not caught up in city life. But we don't say that they are being in solitude as being discussed in the text here, because their solitude doesn't count as solitude as being discussed here, because relying upon the type of solitude they have, they're not able to be liberated. So the most important point here is the solitude of mind, that the mind is free from or secluded from afflictive emotions and thoughts, and that one does not fall under the power of affliction and thought, and that the mind is able to remain single-pointedly on whatever virtuous object that it is focused on or practicing. And then that is actually the authentic solitude or authentic secluded practice.
lamate ki ta loma la 그런서 딱 공점 하도로 공점 딱 인건도 얘는 딱 공간도 가르치 임바이나 양치대 공그 쪽래양도 땅 아니 제 두수 보통도 년도 좀네 그냥 가문도 나해서와 되는데 다 라마티기 로마텔 다른 저 검자 마성하세 초다 다른 사자 가마 가시세 롬바 찌찌 롬바 니니 초테니 로송하세 되는 송레스 다른 뭐마 진소게 어다 가래나 송말었다 다른 거서 참만에 검 참관은 검냠도 대대가시 되는 상 되는 시에디스 다 얘는 다 로마텔은 뭐시에서라고 되는데 다 로마텔 로보트 검자 대대도 대거서 도보나 되는 검자 대대여스 얘는 로봇나 되는 접히 그런서 선대 답에 마시바 기타 되는 정도에서요. 뭐다 되는 게 말이나 다 웬바 루웬바리나요. 선남도 마윈바르바. 다 나란조 루당 나한테서 웬바 띵 거야. 그 무유조 그거가 조도 가르치는 선웬바 타로. 나란조 이제 내 조르시나요. 선대야 조르고요. 다 코로나에 막지 칭스나양 코로아데니 이제 레더 뉴모바게 칭거들 다 코로아스는 만 코로아데 참 코로아는 참도 요리 다 선데니 이제 레더 뉴모바게 조르토바 임바이나 다 나서 타바세 디텐으로 왔다 되는 그 지기도 아니 생각을 맞을 때한테 된들이 소문데.
So we have a story that we tell in Tibet that there was a lama and some disciples that were staying in the mountains in a mountain retreat, and they were meditating in their caves. And there was some time after meditation sessions when the students and the teacher would gather, and the teacher would discuss their meditation with them, and they would have some talk. And the guru one day, he said to his disciples, you all weren't here meditating today, you were off going from village to village, walking around, wandering around. And they said, no, we were here, we were meditating, we were sitting in the caves, but apparently this lama had some clairvoyance because he could see what was going on in their minds, and what was going on is they were just wandering about in their minds even though their bodies were there in the cave. So that's what we could call a seclusion of the body, but not a seclusion of the mind, because their minds were not secluded from thoughts and afflictive emotions. And so the primary point then is that the mind which is secluded is what can be liberated. And the entire point of secluding the body and speech is to attain seclusion of the mind. And it's all about the mind, because when we talk about liberation, what is liberated is the mind. And when we talk about bondage to samsara as well, what is bound is the mind by karma and afflictions. And so when the mind is able to be freed from karma and the afflictions, that's what we call actual liberation or freedom from samsara.
Tatene ma chen lu tong su tatene bu song mai mare yunen do pen za shi so son da bebe de pen no ze short de lu jen dang kan na chin dang bu po chen de lu tang jase la ni.
And so the next is letting go of this life. So it says, long associated companions will part from each other. Wealth and possessions obtained with effort will be left behind. Consciousness, the guest, will cast aside the guest house of the body. Letting go of this life is the Bodhisattva's practice.
Then, yunen do pen za shi so so da so de ta je tu yunen bo ta ma so ma jie ne nyang de ro de ba ki pham ma men san yin na de ani so so ge ji da 부지 차오 참모이나데 아니 제 소소가다 조보 조모 아니 제 초원 쳔자상 닌자시 어다 가레제 이마이나양 유는 좀 로건 자시 가레제 이마이나양 저는 날제 다 나는 제 둔합 자자 모두 바디 아니 소소는 단로그리 라라나 아니 제다 나는 좀 마음부지 다 미참아 아니 제 마다발 아니라고 되는데 제 that to jump namsa ka rimbe ta mang so ji kan de jin nyam den ro kan de ji she kan de ji zwa chi mo ye ba yin ba yin na yang then ta ju ni so so den dar go gris.
So these people who we have been with for quite some time, even since we were born, such as our parents, our brothers and sisters, our nieces and nephews, our friends and lovers, our our husbands and wives and so on, all of them at some point, sooner or later, will have to be separated from them. So all people are of the nature of impermanence, and at some point, be it sooner or later, in the end, we will all have to be separated.
네 대체당 다 야고 말이지 대 강아리지 또 얘네양 아니지 다 싫어 동화조예요 말이지 다 무슨 맞다버리 다 다다 나랑도 제동 가제지 제가 임바인 남신은 다 무슨 달고가 땡땡이라고 왔어 다 땡이지 다다 다 자산 카 도야 돼다 때자 맞다 받다 때자 저런 나와 되고 그랬어 대마도 다 함자 마도 나저 용거래 대저 선지 마저 생애 진짜 합서 자리 다때 대한 진짜 남녀 상하요 왔다 된다고 송하래지.
And so I have a person who I know who was having some difficulty that her marriage was falling apart, and she's a lay practitioner, and she was having quite a bit of sadness and suffering. She told me that her husband was leaving her, and that she was having some really big difficulties. And I told her, she shouldn't get too caught up in it. She shouldn't be hurting too much about it, because no matter how much love you have, it's certain that at some point you're going to have to be separated anyway. And it's just that for you, that separation came a little early. And so no matter what, either way, because of this impermanent nature of life, it was going to happen sooner or later. And that's how I think about it ordinarily anyway, and that's the advice that I had to give her. So the Buddha talked about 4 ends, or 4 situations, and it was one of those 4 was everything that has come together will have to be separated.
마셔 사등 누가 직접이 다다 직진님들 발언로세 정말 못지 라마 장부는 된성이로 마셔와 사등 르데바 멋지가요 말이지 다다 직지 직지를 님터는데 제가서만 발언던 로여리 성들성이지.
And so in the calling the guru from afar of Khenpo Rinpoche, he says that there's not a single person who's left on this earth without dying. We just follow one life after another into future existence.
근데 야 차들 내가 여보지 차 배샤 몸보제서 터나 시티니스 동요래 다 소소에 써먼지 콜타나다 법령 여보세 배조 여보세 땅나 매체 여보제서 어다 밤저 여보제 저 다는 나 컴반요 모단요 되는 나 그치 배샤 터서다 여보지 조이 산 다시 좀 보다네 고조나 드리는 고조가 요래 되는 야는 소야 그때 저런데 다 등상 록다운 로저 내가 레저 다 된디제 세는데 다좀 민망치시 나서 제 가래당 배조 전부 그거네 다 접반저 놀롱교도서 된디 드려야지 다 얘네양 다 산이 나서 지다 마타가 토들 아니 샤와가 채나 나서 제 주제 농주 반저 간데지 여바이마 있네요 다지 되나면 고모책장은 이제 제방매 봐 준조가 나는 데모라고 동만로 소만한지 되네 이제 참아야나 되네 말은 찍고 되네 아니지 젠디기 사차와기 레게와다 마게와 What these Jesus and Joe Parola and then drove over the stand so Julian Juta Candide Yobaina and Jita ma Jana Drain Baris.
And so, as it says that possessions attained with effort will be left behind, wealth and possessions. So these days, from the time you're just 2 or 3 years old, parents start sending children into preschools and schools, and often they send them with the intention to school with the intention that if they get a good education, then they'll eventually get good work and they'll be able to make a good income. And so most people spend their life with that type of ambition, that they're just going to get a good job so that they can make a good amount of money, and that's their intention in all of this. And then so they're working their whole life, working very hard and putting a lot of effort into making money. And but if tomorrow, if impermanence takes its toll, then all of that is left. There's not a single dollar you can take with you. And as it said in the Bodhicharyavatara, you'll have to leave with empty hands. So everything will be left behind. All of the efforts, all of the things that you have accomplished with great efforts in this life, all of the wealth, all the possessions will have to be left, and you will go alone and are not able to take any of that. It will all be left behind.
在中国人有一个句话，钱在银行，人在天堂。Am I supposed to understand?
So they say the money gets left in the bank, the people go to heaven. But that'd be alright, right? If the money got left in the bank and you got to go to heaven, that's okay, right?
사실 근데 다 미시와 갈래 소소 그 주제를 삼차나 근데 이제 제와지는 룰리 마탑나 드나시지 삼차대 반다고다 양은드나 아니 삼차나 제와진다지 든딜랑데 바카타 페 동방고도.
So there's many situations or many stories where that's not the case, that people, because of their extreme attachment to their wealth or possessions, are not able to take that next rebirth, and their spirit or their consciousness is left in that existence and is attached to their possessions and is unable to take that next step. So there's many stories of situations like that.
자시라 안더와 아니 노제 쇼도 되고 맞에 타나 루전정가 나신들 보 세나 딱 말한 저기다 다 시든 존데가 그루 대타다다 맨은 정한다고 그러와 다 나는 좀 남시대 이제 루보테 그 나나 띵데 여바데 점보라고 그랬어 다 타주 아니 나도 좀그 루트서 쇼도 야는 근데 루트서 야는 메르서 초로코 살진 동나베 안에서나 거 야는 근데 아니 끝나 시주고 아니 근데 다 제가 바로도 되는 로고 요리스 근데 이제 말인데 다 다들 말하는 거 가르쳐 못한 거 요리스는다 소소 그지 첨사장 좋은 자시 접제롱주 아니 소소 그루 롱주 드소라 아니 이제 전디가 나는 좀 초하게 자세지 이 말이 다때 다다는 욕방세야 나서 요 말이 돼 얘는 저도 다지 자진 침못이 세대바 이 말이나 신바 침못세 차과 침못이 세대바 이 말이나 난 벤도 요 말이 남지 그래서 당달 그래서 야 그래서 가서는 되는 거고 그리 되는지 이 말인데 다다는 체를 류당세야 돼 그래서 욕는 나서 또 지금 농바진다지 송세야 그 육송세야 그 배자말이 근데 체 류당세는 주치시 나서지 마대다 자신께서 마 명로 동도와 아니 돼서 강도도 그마 방고 그래서 뭐다 된지 송하래.
And so the next line says that consciousness, the guest, will cast aside the guest house of the body. So this body, which we grasp at as I or mine, is like a guest house for consciousness, which is the guest. It's just abiding in that guest house of the body. And in the end, that body will have to be cast aside, and the body will be buried or burned or thrown in the river or whatever they do with the body, but at any rate, it will be left behind and the consciousness will carry on. And so how should we consider this? We should consider this that all of our family, our friends, our lovers, our children, and so on, as well as our wealth and possessions and our body, are just favorable conditions for our livelihood in this lifetime. And it's not that we need to throw them all away, as it says, letting go of this life. It's not that they need to be thrown away, but the point is that having great attachment to them is not beneficial, that we need to let go in the sense of, similar to the previous verse where it said, or the verse was talking about abandoning one's fatherland. It's not that you have to throw it away. It's that you need to, in this sense, in this one where it says letting go of this life, is saying that you should you should minimize your attachment to all of these things. You should minimize it and reduce it in the sense of letting go of this life.
다다니 저는 뜻으로 카트하고 그래 진득게 시해요 말이 저는 놀롱 주듯이 남제 아니 세로 그래 그래서 야고 그래 맞서 제가 서만다 콘도사 여고 말이 다다는 요쇼 시티니양 깨져 말이 근데 이제 다 류대 당 아니 나랑서 그 남시 되니 다다다 그런 소지 rum보단 rum강난 이제는 링제도 대도 여기 남제 카트하고 그래 다다는 zu고를 다고 맞아서야 그 드니 그까지 소모요 말이나 다 원은 간데 소모 요리시는 되나네 다 나랑서 될지 denji 첨보세 대바 임바이나 아니 소지는 펜도요 말이 남지 소소 카트하고 그래 즉대 니는 뭐분에 당양 들리리에서 하도고 그래 다다가 조금 소모 마당 못 가까보다 첨사상에는 가드에는 지금 다야메 봐 소모로 이제 땅도요 여러봐 놀롱 죽지 임바이나 가드에는 지금 마센도야 메반도 그 나서 그때 단전주도요 봐 임바데 나랑도 임바이나 양치다 네 루틴에 지금 마 카타야 여바지 소모동 동요 말이 되네 말이지 뭐 내당은 다다 디나니 숨바나 인기 자시양 남지 소소의 단도거든 주제는 유인 세노거든 대소 야고 그래 소 타는 소소그 류당 지바그 류대양은 이제 다다 소소의 단도거든 달고거든 시드니 송데 같은 무분 내당데 되네 용거리 디준진의 띠네 다다는 나눠주지다 소소지 된 하장게지 당제 첨보당 하장게지 될 신자 첨보 맞에 소소에는 개발도 아니 지 선바지보 아니 지 된데 선발로 아니 지 선루선 시대 아니 가도에는 지 선지다 뉴몽다 강을 대코나가 왕 땅마쇼 시나다 돈다 쪼도 되는 배송이요.
And so just because the text says that at some point you'll have to be separated from your family and your husband or wife or whatever doesn't mean that right now you need to separate from them. And just because your wealth and your resources at some point will be exhausted or you'll have to separate from them or leave them aside doesn't mean you need to throw them aside right now. And similarly, this body and that is referred to as like a guest in the guest house, which is staying together at this time, just because they will be separated in the future doesn't mean that we don't need to take care of or protect this body now. And so what should we do? What is it that how should we consider this? It's that we shouldn't have too much grasping at the reality of this situation. Having a lot of grasping at all of this is not beneficial. So that's just one point. The second point is that this is the real reality of life. This is the reality of our situation, and we need to understand that. So when we don't really think about it, when we don't consider our life, we think that we will never have to be separated from our friends and family. We think that we will never run out of money and resources, or we'll never have to be separated from those resources. And even when it comes down to our body, we never think that that we will have to leave that body behind. But in the end, we will have to leave the body. That is the real situation. That is reality. It will come, and we need to understand that. So we never really consider that. And so the point then is that we shouldn't have a strong amount of self-grasping or grasping at these possessions and people. And we should be able to relax our mind away from this grasping and attachment and apply our minds at accomplishing virtue and allow our minds some peace and comfort separate from that grasping and attachment. And so the four, I guess the right word would be the four ends, is a teaching of the Buddha. And the four ends are: the end of birth is death, the end of gathering is separation, the end of saving is exhaustion or depletion, and the end of lifting up is falling down. And so that's the real situation. That's the way things are. That's reality.
Then that's Sanjay and it tangent by Maris. Then the two Saman Chingri, then Sanjay get into some year, that's someone Dona Yang, and it's a Malaga Tinjay. And it's done that Sanjay to the song and the Kinjitsuran to Jason Shatepe. I want to Sanjay say at the tangent Maris has changes, but then channels. That's Sanjay the two Saman Chimbaris. 얘는 산지에 그 차마다 다 좋다고 말했어. 말로야. 어때? 대인도 산지 탐진 주마인도 얘는 송을 놓아야 말이야. 탐지 탐지 챙그레스. 아니 추 탐지 산지에 그 주주도 없는 아니 다 좋다고 말했어. 그러나 차마다 직진 거 본다고 말이야. 아 산지에.
And so
직딩 그 추탐진 챙그레스. 얘는 직딩 꼽아보 말이지. 근데 산제의 탐진 챙발 인자 디송들 로야 말.
And so the Buddha is omniscient, and since he is omniscient, the words that he speaks are not deceptive in terms of their application to reality. They perfectly describe reality. And it's like Khenpo Tsulnam Lodru talks about the Buddha, and he says that he knows everything, but it's not like he created everything. It's not like he's making things happen. But because he knows everything, when he explains something or says something, then that is perfectly in accordance with the real situation. That is really how it is.
That's
the thing that Khenpo Tsulnam Lodru says in Chinese. He speaks Tibetan and Chinese. He teaches in Chinese. So the point is that the Buddha's words are not deceptive because he is omniscient.
Delobaki longi yori pon name me chen shimbe chen shimba chuje naroba se je yo wata de denje ge chi de namzo ji tada sang shimba de pe panya da ka ge chen bore de shimba de me ba yin ba yin na ta jikting ga tan longju tang thom hin da tang athang la so gande je yo ba yin na ma so ni thaba ba ju thaba ba je chag yo ma the tabala depth of your mind, and so draw the depth of your mind. Cousin also sun shimba yoba in bayina, 나는 또 저 류땅 참은 매바 주셔봐 이마이나요. 펜도요 말이. 나는 저 생비 심바데 빵터요 말고. 진리 말이.
And so the most important point in this section on letting go of this life is letting go of or abandoning attachment or grasping. So there's a quote from Tilopa where he says, "My son, appearances don't bind you, grasping binds you. So cut through your grasping, Naropa." So the most important point is to abandon that grasping in your mind. If you don't have grasping, then no matter how much wealth and resources and fame you have, it won't be an obstacle to your attainment of liberation. But even if you have attachment, if you have this grasping, even if you get rid of all the stuff you have, you abandon all of it, it won't be any help because your mind is still grasping, your mind is still attached.
산지기네 다 오종라고지 임바이나 내된 오종라고지 임바이나 아니 지 설정 강반라고지 임바이나야 아니 나와요리스 저당은 이제 저도 송하는 설정 올라서 와 가야 돼 얘는 아니 산지 오종라고지 임바이나 나와요리스 다때 가르치는 내 산지 오종만 내된 오종라고 임바이나 아니 지다 자신 방사돼 다니 지 설정 올라서 와 간대제 여바이나야 델티는 제 뉴몽 차단 모습 제한다고 당 델티는 제다 짐바 단전당 안에 제 심바제야 말이 뭐 딘디제 뭐 딘디는 쳇더 류당 세야의 기치슈 나서 제 기치슈 지 상은 진당데态度 진당도 하는 그 기cham부 말이 제인데 진당 때문에 아니 심바 방고 그래 있었는 딘디 송이래 다 가제 심바 마방도 더 참아요 없는 다당서 장난은 니데밖에 내가 가질라고 다 방고 안 나야. 홈레스. 저속에 제가 요 말로. 참아 방사를 얘는 거저 자신 방이요 말이. 되는데 거저 그 여자 자동 무서나서 와. 다 제와라네. 저바인 말이지.
네. 아래 레체 오선스. 네 산제 텐데.
언제 뛰어 오선만 되는 송리지. 산제 길어. 산제 좀 되네.
네 된지.
오선. 오선.
예.
내 뛰어 송라고 임바이나 설정 강바지 임바이나야 아니
맞습니다.
나와요리스 저당 라도 송한 설정 올라서 파요리스 그래서 좀 상근 진단데 하자 기체물이스 무슨 때려 봐 그냥 혼레스도 좋아요 참아 여기요리 얘는 상부 심바도 막번 차데 고소는 유망제와 찍어봐요 뒤에 유망제와 찍어봐 임바인데 뒤에 이제 콜와라 막 청와도 찍어봐 임바리스
맞습니다. And so the Buddha, I don't know the Sanskrit name of this Theravada monk's. His name was Usung, but he was a early follower of the Buddha and one of the Theravada Sangha, and he had a golden house. And generally, monks are not allowed to have gold or silver or money. But because this monk Usung had completely abandoned any attachment and grasping, he had permission to possess such a house. And so the whole point then of this is that it's all about the grasping in your mind. And it's all a distinction in the way that your mind apprehends the object, in the way that your mind sees or grasps the objects of your experience. And so if you don't abandon grasping, even if you don't have anything, like homeless people have very few possessions, but because they still have grasping, then their attachment or their bondage to samsara through their afflictions is the same. Even though they don't have many possessions, they still have that grasping and attachment, so it's no different than someone who has possessions in the sense that they still are grasping with their minds.
But 나도 남바게 추바야 오지 임바지라 근데 총바 다 총바 첨보지 임바 짐터는 영초 그랬어. 근데 변나다 제로 첨본다고 당 아니 추바 양다바지게 짐터는 영초 그랬어. 변나 주자님이 세한다고 당 아니 제 주자 다단데 초성 대진 송제 강원하고 든디는 추바 강원의 추바 양다고 하지. 얘는 이제 뒷값을 빼 자다 볼라서 받아 약간 몸보기 똑진 약간 그 저로인바 추바 양다고 인바 어떤지 지금 되는 요 저거리지. 다들 좀 되는 안 소지 생기 생기 아니 이제 따출 거는 되는데 진단을 거는 되는데 인다마라고 용을 되지. 양 빵고 쟁 매바 제당 되네 양 된지 조제롱주 쟁 매바 제당 양코 추바 인바 그 니바마도 소소는 쳔자상 매바 노르롱주 쟁 매바 그 빵고 제 얘는 양 포추바 인바 니바요 고체 따라 노 쳔자상 요만 노르롱주 요만 통하던 녀다 제가 요 말에 에 고추바 셀류 땅세나 파저 줘봐 그 셀류 땅 잡아놓고 차대요 얘는 고추바 차요 그래서 상거되는 류 땅 토요 상그 때는 류땅 터바이마이나 다다단데 총바 쳔보이마 되네 자카고 지 신진이마 자로이마 되네 지 빼지 년자 쳔보이바 그 만하이마 양도서 빼 추바야 추바 안다오이마 되네 용초야 돼 조조데 다만 소지 딘진당 신법방 통도 sommo 동당 건데 되네 제발 저기 바이마 되네 체 류땅 세야 돼 아니 되네 거가냐고 그래서
and so it is allowed, or it is possible then, to be a really authentic, good Dharma practitioner and also be a very successful business person. It's also possible, or it is permissible, for someone to be the richest person and also the best Dharma practitioner. It's possible. It's also possible to be a great Dharma practitioner and the king or president of a country. There have been many great Dharma kings, such as Chujel Nyangme. I don't know the Sanskrit name for this, but this was an Indian king. Ashoka. Yeah, Ashoka. Sorry, that's one I do know. It just wasn't coming. Ashoka, and then the Tibetan kings such as Songtsen Gampo and Trisong Gyaltsen. So there have been many great Dharma kings of India and Tibet who were both, and also in other lands and also in other countries. And so it is perfectly possible and permissible for someone to both be an extremely powerful king or president as well as being a great and authentic Dharma practitioner. Because it's all about one's way of seeing things and one's way of apprehending or grasping things. So similarly, or in opposition, just because someone has nothing doesn't make them a Dharma practitioner. So there are plenty of beggars in the street who have nothing. They have no money, they have no family, they have no husband or wife. They have no possessions or wealth or fame or any of these things, but that doesn't make them a Dharma practitioner. It all has to do with one's way of apprehending things. Because if we only take this word literally, letting go of this life, we can say those beggars, they threw away the life. They let go of life. But that's not the same thing. We're talking about this in the perspective of, or in connection with one's mind letting go. And so one can be then a president of a kingdom, or a president of a country, a king or queen, extremely famous person, and still be a top-notch Dharma practitioner. And so that's the key point here, is that when we're talking about this letting go, we're talking about a way of thinking, or a way of apprehending things. And so then the key point then is that when we say letting go of this life, we're not speaking of it from the perspective primarily of letting go of things or activities. We're talking about letting go in terms of your mind's grasping. So we'll stop here for our morning session. Sivu